What is up, Sooner Nation? I am Casey Mallon, and you are now in a Sooner state of mind. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. Sooner State of Mind fam, on today's show, it is the moment we've all been waiting for. It is finally here. On Saturday night, our Oklahoma Sooners host their first SEC conference game ever. It's Josh Heupel and the number 6 Tennessee Volunteers coming to town. Before Saturday, I'd kind of always liked Tennessee a little bit, and maybe just feels that way because I have real hate for a bunch of the other SEC teams. But then when Coach Heupel took over, it did make me dig them a little more. But all that goes out the window on Saturday night because hating orange teams just comes naturally to me. It's easy. I don't even have to try. It just happens. I don't think about it. Now, this will obviously be the first time these teams have done battle as conference foes, but definitely not the first time they've done battle. Teams have previously met 4 times. The first time was in the 1939 Orange Bowl. You might remember that one. The Vols won that game 17-0. But since then, the Sooners have not lost to the Volunteers. OU leads the all-time series 3-1 and are on a 3-game win streak. 4-game win streak would be pretty sweet. And if Saturday's game is anything like the last one these two teams met in, holy smokes, we are in for a show. Not only was it a sick freaking game, but for me personally, it's one of my top 5 Sooner games ever. A little reset, take you back to the time a few years ago. The walk-on quarterback, Baker Mayfield, showing Sooner Nation what he's got. He opens up that game with an interception, inauspicious start. Sooners follow that up with 5 straight punts. Tennessee builds a 17-0 lead, just like they did in that 1939 Orange Bowl. But we're going to go ahead and fast forward to the fourth quarter. Sooners still down 17-3. And that, my friends, is when the legend of Baker Mayfield was born. Sooners D had a lot to do with that too, pitching a second half shutout of Josh Dobbs and those Vols, giving that Sooners offense an opportunity to wake up, which they did. And in the fourth quarter, the Sooners respond with back-to-back touchdown drives, the second of which 5.5 minute, 13-play, 60-yard touchdown drive, culminating with a 5-yard TD pass to another beloved Sooner and a multi-generation legacy. Sterling Shepard, sweet catch in the back corner of the end zone there. Sooners tie it up. Just 40 seconds left in the game. Hearts are pounding. We're racing. And somehow we got this game into overtime. Vols got the ball first in OT. They score a touchdown. Sooners have to respond or it's lights out, baby. 4th down. Baker, rushing touchdown. Boom. Ties this bad boy up. So we're going into our second overtime. Sooners get the ball first. Once again, it's Baker to Shep. This time an 18-yard touchdown pass. Shep's going up the sideline, does that little pause, step back, goes in, boom. Sooners with the lead the first time all day. Can they hold? You're damn right they can. Ensuing Tennessee possession, Zach Sanchez picks off Josh Dobbs before he was the Pastronaut, just a student, didn't have space helping him. Space exploration wasn't coming into effect in this game. Sooners rocked the Rocky Top 31-24, and that was the game that made me a believer in Baker. After that, I felt like we had a chance in every game. Not only that, I felt like we were going to win every game with this guy. As long as Six was back there, I thought we could win no matter who we played. Had a shot in every single game. And it wasn't just me. I think collectively, Sooner Nation felt that too. He made us all believe in him and this program. And it is an absolute crime that we didn't win a natty with Bake, who, in my opinion, might just have been the best college quarterback ever. I know that's a lot of variables into that equation, but there's not, maybe a handful that have done it as well as he did at that level, if better. I don't know. I mean, it's so subjective, but for me, he might be the best. So now at least it's great to see Baker playing so well in the NFL. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. But we have plenty more Sooner talk before we do that. Now in this Tennessee game, obviously there is another former Sooner quarterback on the other side of the field who also holds massive love from Sooner Nation at OU. An All-American, AP Player of the Year, Walter Camp Award winner, runner-up in the 2000 Heisman race. That's okay. He lost that Heisman to Chris Winkie. So what did our guy do? What did Josh Heupel do? He and that OU defense made Winkie pay for that snubbing for the Heisman. Made him pay in the Orange Bowl, a little national championship, if you will. Sooners win 13-2, complete the undefeated season. Heupel brings natty number 7 back to Norman. Almost had the shutout. Bad snap resulted in a safety on a punt. What a tremendous season. But we can't forget about the game that really put the Sooners back in prominence. It was that Week 7 matchup where the Sooners hosted number 1 ranked Nebraska. Sooners went out and put the beat down on those Huskers, 31-14. Sooners started the season ranked 19th, ended up the best team in the country. And that win over who was ranked number 1 at the time, Nebraska, Sooners moved up to number 1 after that and held it for the rest of the season into the natty, into the history books. And they got that natty over that dadgum win over the late, great Bobby Bowden and those Florida State Seminoles. Big Game Bob, he credits Heupel as the dude that helped get the program turned around. This week, Stoops said, I've often said he, meaning Heupel, is the MVP of all my recruits because he was the catalyst that got us started in 99. Bob Stoops also wrote in his book that the day he fired Heupel was the single toughest day he's ever had as a coach. Highs and lows, but either way, that's pretty high praise coming from Mr. Bob Stoops, the GOAT. Now, I know he will not be neutral this weekend, but Stoops does have a ton of love for Heupel, as most of Sooner Nation does. We put that on pause on Saturday night. After the game, it goes back to being all love for Heupel, but he's an enemy until the zeros tick off that clock. Now, Heupel did have a couple of coaching stints with the Sooners and got his first OC gig with OU. He was with the Sooners from 2011 to 2014. His contract wasn't renewed in 2015. Call it a firing, call it whatever you want, but that did lead to some big feelings and some bad blood. Heupel would move on to Utah State and then Missouri before landing his next big gig, per se, the head coach at UCF in 2017. Did a 3-year run there, had a 28-8 record with UCF, and in 2018 was 12-1. Those Knights also went to a bowl game every season Heupel was the coach. Started really cutting his teeth, and then moved on to Tennessee. He won SEC Coach of the Year in 2022. And in 23, in January, signed a contract extension with the Vols until 2029, worth $9 million. No freaking sharks with lasers, but that's a lot of cabbage. And going into this weekend, Heupel's record with the Vols, 29-12. And even though it ended bad with the Sooners for Heupel, I think overall he wouldn't really change anything or how anything played out. And I am sure he's completely stoked with what's transpired since then. Nobody likes to get fired, but sometimes forced change is the best change for us. Pushes us into the uncomfortable area, maybe makes us make moves we wouldn't have done if we weren't forced to. So that being said, I'm sure he would love to show the Sooners firsthand on what a great coach he has become. Even so, this week, Heupel said, there's so many people that have been a huge part of my journey and that I hopefully get a chance to say hi to a bunch of them. I wouldn't be here today at Tennessee if I didn't have all those experiences. So tremendously grateful for all those people. And everybody gets fired, especially in the coaching world. It's very rare that you don't. National championship winning coaches get fired. Super Bowl winning coaches get fired. So it's just it's part of doing the biz. But it seems to have all worked out for Heupel because not only does he have the 6th ranked team in the country, this might be his best team ever. And it all starts on offense. And this offense is scary good. These Vols have scored 191 points through 3 games, or just under 64 points a game. They are led by one of the most dynamic playmaking quarterbacks in college football, with one of the most difficult names to pronounce, Nico Iamaleava. If I could have said it a little faster, I would have. I just wanted to get through it. I did that. From now on, he will be named Nico, okay? Dude is only a redshirt freshman. SoCal kid, finished up at Long Beach Poly, and dude is absolutely balling through 3 games, just under 700 yards passing, 70% completion, 6 TDs to 2 interceptions, throw in another 100 rushing yards. And dude's numbers would be even crazier if they weren't completely destroying teams and he's sitting out parts of these games, 3rd quarters, 4th quarters. He's not having to work through the whole thing. Now, this will be the defense, the best defense he's faced so far. Pause. We're taking a spin on the Spindrift today. So, Spindrift, if you are watching, we are listening. Big fan of beverages on this show. Got to stay hydrated. Back to it. Like I said, this will be the best defense Nico has faced so far. And I would imagine BV and Zach Alley will dial up some exotic blitz packages, stuff that Nico has not seen in his short time running this offense. And count on that. But even if they can force Nico into some passing situations, these Vols are converting on 3rd down at just under 57%. And if you get them to 4th down, they're converting 4th down on 84%. And just even getting this team to 3rd down might be tricky because the Vols have 4 different running backs, all averaging over 6 yards a carry. Starts with Dylan Sampson and Deshaun Bishop. Sampson, 45 for 357. That's almost 8 yards a clip, 9 touchdowns with a long of 59 yards. Bishop has 22 carries for 222 yards. I'm not a math wizard, but that's 10 yards a carry. Bishop also has a 50-yard touchdown on the season. Just to put that in perspective, the Sooners' longest run by a running back this year is 35 yards by Tatum. When I say the Vols are running the football, they are running the damn football, averaging 336 yards per game on the ground. Not good news. Now, luckily, the Sooners have been pretty good against the run this year. They're going to need a lot more of that on Saturday night. At receiver, the Vols have a couple good ones there too. Shocking, I know. Chris Brazel, the second, has got 10 grabs for 140 and a TD on the season. Dante Thornton Jr., only 5 catches, but he's averaging 34 yards a reception and 2 touchdowns. They also have McCoy and White behind those guys. They have 2 tight ends that get in on the action, about 8 catches and 100 yards, 3 touchdowns between them. That's pretty good production. This team can hit you in a number of ways. We talked about the run game. We talked about Nico. But the key will be hopefully forcing them into passing situations and then getting after Nico, not letting him break out and run and forcing him to make quick decisions. Don't give him time back there. Got to affect that dude's game. And if this Vols team just had a great offense, that would be one thing. But the defense, they've only given up 13 points through 3 games, or 4 points a game, however you want to look at it. They've not given up a touchdown all season. They've only given up 3 plays of 20 yards in 3 games. And one of those came late in the game last week that they won 71-0. Only 3 plays of 20-plus yards. I think the Sooners might only have like 5 or 6 plays of over 20 yards. It's not many. So that is not looking good for this OU offense. These Vols stacked at all 3 levels, especially up front. The depth on the defensive line, if you ask the insiders there, has played a big part of what they're doing well. They played more than a dozen defensive linemen in each of the first games. Deep rotation, scary, coming in waves, kind of what the Sooners like to do. These Vols are getting it done. Junior defensive end, Tyree West, he's got 2.5 TFLs. He's also got a sack. Senior defensive lineman Omari Thomas, junior defensive end Joshua Josephs, and freshman defensive end Jordan Ross all have a sack and a half. Multiple TFLs. And senior defensive end Dominic Bailey and senior defensive tackle Brian Eason, they both have 6 tackles each. So it's not just one guy getting it done. We mentioned it's a heavy rotation, and all excuse me. And all these guys are contributing and making big plays when they get the opportunity. Linebacker, solid too. Got a couple good tacklers in there in Keenan Peely and Arion Carter. On the back end, Farouk, Brooks, and Thomas. They've been balling as well. Super talented team at every level on both sides of the ball. Is there a bright spot? I don't know. As dominant as this defense has been, they have 4 sacks on the season, and they haven't created many turnovers. Sooners have done well about not turning the ball over. They haven't done so great at keeping Jackson Arnold upright. But that defense hasn't really been challenged either. Not that the OU offense has really been challenging people so far, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But the defense, this will be the best offense that those Vols have seen so far. So hopefully the Sooners can find their mojo on the offensive side of the ball. Getting healthy would go a long way towards making that happen. And I said last week, nobody cares how banged up the Sooners are. And unless you're inside the program or a Sooner fan, you don't care either. So while we're doing this show, the official injury report hasn't been released yet, but there's speculation that the Sooners should be getting some players back, and that would be some welcomed relief. Because last week against Tulane, Brenton Hickman, Jake Taylor, Troy Everett, offense, Nick Anderson, Andrell Anthony, all out. On the defensive side of the ball, Kendall Dolby, Gentry Williams, Deshaun McCullough. Those are major players. If we can get half of those guys back, we will be in much better shape, especially the half that's on the offense, because what we really need is health up front on that O-line and at the receiver position. We came into this season knowing how precarious that O-line situation was. And with the injuries, it's just been a mixed match. Haven't gotten the same five to make it through a game, much less start week to week. Hopefully we can start getting there. But we kind of anticipated some problems in that area. Receiver, though, we thought it was going to be as deep as it could possibly get. We thought we would be dialed in there. It would not be a problem at all. But it has just been brutal, the amount of injuries at that position. Almost shocking. Good news maybe on the way. Nick Anderson, he did dress last week, and BV said leading up to last week's game that they were targeting Tennessee for his return. And hopefully that was legit because we need some help in the passing game. It looks like Anderson will be back. Haven't gotten confirmation as we're recording, but it's looking pretty good. But until that's official, until I see number 4 on the field, I won't believe it. But I am hoping that he's going to be out there, and I believe he will be. And maybe by the end of the day, it becomes official. Nick will add an element to this offense that's desperately been missing. We don't have someone that can win on the outside. We can move Burks around, and he is a legitimate weapon from the slot. But we don't have that big body out there that you can just, body up, post up on that defender. So he's got size, he's got speed, he's got hands, 10 TDs last year. That would go a long way towards helping this offense, and maybe that would lead to some bigger plays, which has also been missing from this offense. We talked about how Tennessee's only given up 3 plays of 20 yards. The Sooners' longest play from scrimmage this year is 47 yards. While that is pretty good, they only have 4 plays of 30 yards or more. That is not pretty good. Have to find a way to get bigger chunk plays incorporated into this offensive attack. Can't count on 10-play drives all the time, 80 yards. We need some quick hits. We need to be able to produce some points to put some pressure on the opposing offenses. Having Nick Anderson back, that should help make that happen. And maybe his presence opens up some of the deep stuff for the speedsters. It should definitely open up things with the run game. Speaking of run game, the JFA portion, which is basically all of the run game to this point, will be something to continue to get a heavy dose of. And that is a good thing. It is a big part of what makes him so special. And so far, it's really the only thing that's working in the run game. So be prepared to see JFA do even more of that until we can get the rest of that run game going. Easier said than done. We talked about that Tennessee defense. They are 4th in the nation, giving up just over 55 yards rushing per game. They have not given up a rushing touchdown. Sooners rushing offense, averaging 4.3 yards a carry, not good enough. And Arnold is leading this team in carries and yards. We want that to be a weapon, but we don't want it to be the only weapon. We need some of these backs to do more. Got to get a lot more from that running game. We have talented players there, but it's a combo of them stepping up and the line stepping up, getting healthy, getting cohesion. And then these guys have to do something special too. And if we don't get that going, it's going to be brutal on Saturday night, and it's going to be brutal down the stretch. But if we can keep getting the guys back, these injured guys up front at the receiver position, maybe we'll start to see what this offense can be. Nothing else, it'll help this offense improve. And as long as we're making progress, we can live with that. The sooner the better, but we just need to start making strides in the right direction. And we knew it was going to be a work in progress this season. We knew that we might have some struggles up front and that Arnold was going to have some on-the-job training. But we haven't seen enough overall of the progress that this offensive unit needs to do. So hopefully there's more of that to come. Last Saturday, I saw flashes of it. I thought there was points where they played really well. There were times when the blocking wasn't good and it wasn't consistent throughout the game, but there were definitely times when it looked the best it has this season. So hopefully there will be a continuation of that on Saturday. Hopefully, we see little flashes of it, and each week there's more and more of it. Because I think we're going to need at least 24 points to have a chance in this game, maybe more. So we have to have the offense improve, obviously, but the defense is going to have to play its best game of the year on Saturday. And they've been great, but this will be the best team they've seen. And the Vols are rocking a high-powered offense. Their O-line is playing well. The Vols have only given up 3 sacks. That ain't no good. But this defensive front of the Sooners might have a little something to say about that, including our Mason Thomas. Thomas was named the Bronco Nagurski National Defensive Player of the Week for his part of the domination over Tulane in the 34-19 Sooners win. He had 3 TFLs. Fourth quarter, forced a fumble that he recovered, pass breakup. And when the money was on the line, when the money was sitting on the table, sack on first down, pass breakup on third down, finished it up with the sack and that fumble recovery on fourth down. My man, this is what they love about him. This coaching staff has continually talked about his potential, trying to stay healthy, trying to stay positive while he gets healthy. If he can maintain that level of health and that level of productivity, then this cat, sky's the limit, baby. So hopefully last week was a sign of things to come. And early on in this season, both Thomas and Grayson Halton have been making flash plays and showing up every game. These were guys that this coaching staff really believed in, wanted to see more of, and now that's starting to come to fruition, and hopefully it will continue to evolve throughout the season. And now this front for the Sooners, they have been very good so far early on. Let's see how they look against the best offense they will have played against. I think they're up for the challenge. Sooners had 7 different players with a sack, 4 different players with an interception, and overall, Zach Alley's defense has created 10 turnovers. That is good production. Hopefully they can force Nico into some mistakes, show him some things he hasn't seen before, and bring a level of pressure he is not familiar with. We're going to need at least 1 turnover on Saturday, if not multiple. So if this defense can just continue to do what it's done so far, we should be in good shape. If the offense can take the next step, we can compete in this game. But getting that run game going, sustaining drives, working some big plays are all crucial elements to this game. Have to have all of that stuff because it doesn't get easier after Saturday. It only gets more difficult. As of now, these Sooners are set to play 5 top 10 teams in the nation, and that is just brutal. And in most of those games, OU will be the underdog, as they are in this game against the Vols. I don't remember the last time these Sooners were a 7-point dog at home. One of the best home records of any team out there. Hopefully that is motivation for these Sooners. There's plenty of places to look for, bulletin board material, whatever. ESPN says Tennessee's got a 71% chance of winning that game on Saturday. Back in August, it was 40%. 2 weeks ago, almost 50%. Last week, 66%, and it is on the climb. Good. Let the Sooners know that. In the past, I feel like we always perform better when we are the underdogs, when there is no expectation, when we're supposed to come out and do our things. I've seen us fall asleep at the wheel on that. So hopefully these guys take that as an insult and do something about it. You can be pissed off, but are you going to do something about it? I hope so. I think so. Because this is a great opportunity for the Sooners to change the perception of what and who this team is. A win against Tennessee, that will put these Sooners right in the thick of it. And there will be some serious talk about this squad. I hope they come out and play mistake-free ball, and I would love us to see us get healthy on offense and get this thing cranked up. There are a lot of weapons there. It's just not gelled yet. Still, like, just trying to fit the pieces in. Once they do that, I think they will be much more productive. And if we do that in a win, even better. A loss here doesn't eliminate the Sooners from playoff contention, as it is 12 teams this year, but it definitely lessens the margin for error. Maybe you can get in with 2 or 3 losses. Depends how the season shakes out and when those come and how everything plays out. But a win here would be sweet. So either way, it is going to be rocking, and I mean rocking in Norman. It's the beginning of a new era. And am I nervous? Yeah, I'm nervous every week, though. It doesn't matter who we play. But I am also completely stoked. This is what we wanted. And this is what we get. With this schedule for the Sooners, we will have earned whatever happens, good or bad. And if that's good, even better. So let's take what we want. It's all there in front of us. Sitting at 3-0. Let's go shock the world. Let's beat these Vols, okay? I believe. Sooner State of Mind family, I believe. Do you believe? We all believe. Now, there are some other slightly less important games taking place this weekend. Friday night, it's a Big Ten battle. Number 24, Illinois. At number 22, Nebraska. Those Huskers are 8-point favorites at home. And rookie quarterback Dylan Raiola, he's put Matt Rule's Huskers right back on the map. And it has been entirely too long since Nebraska has been relevant. And it will be interesting to me to see just how good Raiola and these Huskers are. But that defense looks like the black shirts are back. And at this point, Raiola looks like the real deal. It's exciting. That's fun football. I'm into it. I want to see these cats play, and I am stoked for my Husker friends because it has been a long and painful journey for these guys, and they deserve a little something, something. And if these Huskers can keep stacking these wins, Not that it's wide open, but the Big Ten is pretty damn open. Speaking of Big Ten, it's number 11 USC at number 18 Michigan. The Trojans are 6-point favorites on the road, and it's been growing pains aplenty in the Big House this season. This is a Michigan team in transition, trying to find replacements for guys that were huge contributors to the success of this team. Obviously, a new coaching staff, new quarterback, new running back, blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to hear it, but this team is not who they've been the last couple of years. Maybe they can get there, but it is definitely not who they were last year. And as much as I hate to say it, as much as it pains me to say it, USC looks really, really good. Miller Moss, he's moved into Heisman contention, and it looks like Tebow has finally gotten his defensive woes in check. When they played LSU a couple weeks ago, it was shocking to me and probably everybody watching to see a Riley team actually tackle. Used to seeing those guys whiff, arm tackle, bye. They were tackling. Them dudes was balling. So they've got that worked out. Their schedule lines up pretty favorably in the Big Ten too. So they might be right in the thick of it. Wouldn't that be something? An OU-SC matchup in the playoffs? Playoffs? We got a lot of work to do before we get there, but having that possibility out there is pretty sweet. This is a pretty sweet game. Number 12, Utah at number 14, Okie State. The Utes are 2-point favorites on the road, and it looks like the Utes will have Cam Rising back for this one. And with Rising back there, I love this Utah team. The physical brand of football they play, just fun to watch. Now, these Pokes, they've shown a lot of resiliency this year. They had that huge comeback against Arkansas, and they just pounded Tulsa last week. Oh, my God. Not good. And not to diminish K-State, but these might be the two best teams in the Big 12, although I like K-State a lot too. They are right there. So, but I love what Utah is doing, and with Cam, that's a good team. Number 8, Miami at South Florida. The Canes are 16.5-point favorites, and this might be an interesting game. It's going to be a good test for the Vols. The Bulls, right there with Bama a couple weeks ago, played them tight into the fourth quarter and just ran out of steam. But for the Canes, Cam Ward, outstanding. Just what they needed there. And he has been balling, and they are definitely going to be in the mix. Maybe more than just the ACC title. They might have bigger aspirations, but they got to beat these Bulls first. Number 13, K-State at BYU. K-State 6.5-point favorites. This could be a sneaky good game. Wildcats absolutely punished Arizona last week. Arizona scored early, and that was it. K-State just put the stranglehold on them. But as the Sooners found out last year, Provo can be a pretty tough place to play. You're not going to have all that winter goodness making it freezing out there. But I think we will see the Cougs bring a pretty good effort, and it's going to have to actually be better than pretty good if they think they're going to beat Kansas State. But that could be a fun game. A quick look at some Sooners in the NFL. Kyler Murray doing Hall of Fame things last week versus the Rams. Pro Hall of Fame will display Murray's game-used jersey and football from the 41-10 beatdown of the Rams last week in Arizona. Why, you ask? Oh, because Murray, perfect passer rating of 158.3, 17-21, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, added 59 rush yards. Kyler joins Kurt Warner, Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterback Kurt Warner as the only players in Cardinals history to have a perfect passer rating in a game. Kyler also only the second player in NFL history to throw for at least 250 and rush for 50 yards and have a perfect passer rating. This will be the second time that Murray's game-used equipment will be displayed at the Hall of Fame. They had a football signed from him against the Raiders win in 2022. But Kyler, dude, congrats, bro. One of the most fun and dynamic playmakers in the NFL. We've missed it the last couple of years because he's been fighting through injuries. Got a great coach there now in Gannon. And Kyler has a skill set like nobody else. Skills off the chart, that speed, that squirreliness. Just a lot of fun to watch him play. And Kyler and those Cards are 3-point dogs when they host the Detroit Rock City Lions on Sunday. And those Lions are roaring mad after last week's game. See what I did there? Why are they so mad? Because they got shaked and they got baked. Baker Mayfield and the Bucks rolled into Detroit and bought it. The dang, diggy, said the boogie, jumped the boogied those Lions. Baker threw for one and ran for one on the Bucks' way to a 2016 victory over those Detroit Lions, avenging the playoff loss they had there last season. It's only been 2 games. Sooner Nation doesn't tend to pump the brakes, but Baker might be playing his best football as a pro. And as we're seeing that infectious Baker Mayfield energy that made Sooner Nation love him so much, see it through in all the social media of these Bucks, the way the players interact with him. They love this dude, and he puts it all on the line for them every week. So it's a B-boy bro down when Baker's Bucks host Bo's Broncos. I made some of that up just to have that sweet, sweet alliteration that I love so much. Either way, the Bucks are 6.5-point favorites and looking to stay undefeated on the young season. And nobody had those Bucks doing that. So congrats to Baker. Keep balling like that, and it'll be fun to see what happens with Tampa. And if you are a football junkie like moi, and you're into the NFL too, like moi, make sure you check out the Trend Zone. Just like it is with Sooner State of Mind, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Amazon Music. It's everywhere, people. So go ahead and subscribe. It's free, so you do not miss any of the good stuff. Also, head on over to Believe.com. That's BLEAV.com. Go to shows, type in Sooner State of Mind, and you are locked. And it's the perfect time to be there, people. A ton of great content. Every team, every topic, everywhere. Believe.com. And if you want to watch Sooner State of Mind, head on over to YouTube and search The Football Dudes. We are there. Sooner State of Mind is brought to you by Bet Online. My name is Casey Mallon, and I am in a Sooner State of Mind. Enjoy the big game on Saturday. Ow!